from Steve's Thoughts.
Brian J's Nerd Talk. Talking about nerd shit, nerd stuff.
We are here to bring you nerd culture at its finest. With two people talking about nerd talk and nerd stuff.
Alright, so what's the first thing we're talking about? Street Fighter
First thing
6?
we're talking about is going to be Street Fighter 6. And if any of you are wondering, it's my list. I know. Kind of lost the paper when we're here. Street Fighter 6 will be our first topic. Now, Street Fighter 6 is said to be is dropping tomorrow, Thursday, June 1st. If I believe correct, it's June 1st tomorrow, correct?
It's June 1st or June 2nd, Friday or whatever, yeah.
See your phone real quick?
I'll look it up.
Just open the phone. Just open the phone. What day is it?
Today is May 31st, so it should premiere in a day or two.
So June 1st, June 2nd, one or the other. I think it's June 1st. I'm not sure. We're going to look it up right now just to be sure so that we're not giving you a bunch of nonsense that's incorrect.
Street Fighter 6.
I'm debating whether I should get on my computer or my PlayStation at this point.
Initial release date, June 2nd, Friday.
So it comes out Friday. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, correction here. We are mistaken. So, Street Fighter 6 comes out this Friday, June 2nd. And it's going to be quite exciting. It seems and it looks like, based on the gameplay trailers that were uploaded onto YouTube and the world of Twitch, the game seems very open and welcoming to players old and new. So this may actually prove to be Street Fighter's best chance of drawing in a larger crowd than, say, other games of Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur, and such.
Well, the graphics look good. The gameplay looks exciting. I mean, I like what I see. It's just I'm not a big fighting game fanatic like I used to be. 20 years ago, I was playing all the Soul Caliburs. I was playing all the Street Fighters. Tekken was more my thing, which I'm actually more excited for Tekken than I am Street Fighter 6. But Street Fighter 6 looks like a lot of fun.
I am excited for Tekken 8 as well. However, we're going to mention Tekken 8 on another video. For now, we're going to speak on Street Fighter. Soul Calibur 7, which I don't know if it's in development, and
Wait, is
Mortal
that still
Kombat
in
1.
development? Is that still? You
I
don't know?
I don't
Okay.
know if it's in development. I have to look into that. Mortal Kombat 1, which is basically a Mortal Kombat reboot of the whole franchise. Because
We did one.
finally got everything together
They did
again.
Mortal Kombat 1 through 11, or 1 through 12. Now we're doing Mortal Kombat 1.
No, 11.
Oh, it's 11?
Yeah,
So they
last-
stopped at 11 and they did a full-on reboot?
Yeah.
That tracks.
Hopefully they go back to Mortal Kombat 9 art style.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 9 had the best art style.
I love the
character designs too.
I love the trailer for Mortal Kombat, how violent it was. Dude, those scenes that they were doing in like the last 30 minutes of that trailer was crazy. I was like, dude, this is great. This is awesome.
Like, oh,
This is what the fans want.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We don't. Fans don't want. Anyways, that's Mortal Kombat. We're talking about Street Fighter right now. Wrong topic.
That's the
Okay.
one, though. That's the one franchise that hasn't been touched by the woke mob at all. Like nothing woke has ever really touched that franchise. If anything were upgraded for a new audience, it was not having all the female fighters' tits hanging out. So that's cool. Like I mean, in an actual fight to the death, I mean, female fighters are usually not going to be having all that hanging out. Historically speaking, right? But that was still, it's super violent. Like not giving a fuck at all.
Okay, so I mean, we are talking about Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter 6. So
Yeah.
I'll get that in there.
Yeah.
No, but I will confess the aesthetic design of having the female characters being so risque in the manner of clothing
Yeah, it's so
was
funny.
was actually a nice contributional touch to the service of fan service that was targeted towards the gamers who play the game, not the ones that complain on the internet. Oh my god! I don't
Well, it's because the gaming industry didn't realize that there are a lot of women that play video games. Like that's always been an audience, but that audience of female gamers grew over time, and so they had to make changes to be a little bit more accessible to a female audience
No, of
as
course,
well. But
of course.
you know, the first game that got women into video games was Pac-Man. You know, young girls love Pac-Man. Couldn't get enough of that kid. that guy.
There was Miss Pac-Man after that. Keep that in
Yeah,
mind.
but the girls loved playing Pac-Man. The arcade was full of women playing Pac-Man. So that was the beginning. And so now you got a lot of female gamers now. A lot.
A lot. And what's great about Mortal Kombat 1, starting from scratch, they finally get to undo all the fucking stupid decisions they've done killing off certain characters in absurd, unnecessary ways.
Well, I mean, they could always make up some dumb things to bring the characters back. It's just like starting from scratch means that you can either rehash the same storyline in a new way, or you can just do something different. You don't have to follow the same exact thing all the time.
No, you don't have to. No.
Just don't do a single player thing. Like, I mean, there can be like a single player thing, but don't try to make it like like an RPG type of single player experience.
No. Don't do that.
Yeah, it never really works out. Shenmue did it well, but Shenmue was a special case, like that. Shenmue actually had a good story to go along with all the fighting and all the cutscenes and the buttons you have to press.
It's not just that. It's that Shenmue did a lot really well ahead of its time, ahead of the time for a lot of game franchises. A lot of games today try to copy that.
And they never tried to change the graphics too, which is so funny. Like they had Shenmue 1 and 2, which look exactly the same on the Sega Dreamcast. And then you go 20 years later, they finally come out with Shenmue 3, and the graphics are still the same. They never updated it, never changed nothing. Hey, they never tried to add anything new. It was so funny.
Why fix something that's not broken?
It was so amusing.
Anyways,
even the voice acting was the same. The facial expressions were the same too.
I think Sega has found something they can do, and they'll sell no matter what.
Yeah.
Shenmue 4. I look forward to it. Sega, make it happen.
And with the way things are going with Xbox, with them not having a lot of games, and a lot of game studios are putting less effort into making games look really, really great on Xbox. It wouldn't surprise me if Xbox becomes like a game publisher instead of making a console, because their sales seem to be great, but they're not having enough games, and they're not getting the type of focus that they should be getting, because everybody's focus is mostly going to Sony, because PlayStation 5 is selling a lot more consoles, and so game studios are making the games look incredible on the PS5 because they have a better chance of selling on the PS5, selling really well and making a profit. But Microsoft kind of got a leg up recently because the PlayStation Showcase completely sucked. That showcase was awful.
That showcase was terrible.
Yeah, so
I will admit it was a waste of my time. I could have been playing something else.
Sony tripping over its own collective dick is going to help Microsoft in the long run, because I think the Xbox Direct on June 11th is going to be great. I think it's going to be awesome. I think
so long as Xbox shows first-party games,
which they do,
promises, they do. And I don't mean it'll be ready in like Q5 of.
Well, their showcase in February was great. The problem is that some of the games they released are either not successful because they're on Game Pass, or they came out broken like Redfall. Redfall was just a complete dud.
I will intervene real here. I will interject. When it came to Redfall, Phil Spencer said in an interview, and I forgot it was Xbox Game Pass Daily. Xbox. It was a channel they interviewed him on a Xbox channel. He said that when it came to Redfall, they didn't have the ability to really get in and help them work on it because it was a game that was already in development when they already acquired it.
Phil Spencer in that interview where it was it was Xbox. I think it was Xbox Direct. It's like an Xbox channel with Paris. He's on that channel too, right? So that's like a place where you're treated with kid gloves, right? Usually, or that should be the case. To my surprise, they asked some hard questions, and Phil Spencer looked beat the fuck up. Like he just looked so depressed. He looked so down. He looks like what I do sometimes, which is doom scrolling YouTube comments, and he doesn't just read the top comments. This guy is reading all the new comments, and he is reading all the bad shit people are saying. Like, he is doom scrolling Twitter comments. Like, he looked fucking broken during that interview. Like, he looked like he had just been through the grind.
The guy looked like he had taken a single round with Rocky and just came out like,
I learned
my lesson, man. I ain't going back.
He looked like when Redfall launched in the bad state it was, that he got shit faced that night. Like he got super drunk and was like dealing with a hangover with that interview, right? Like he was still dealing with the after effects, of having. Of drinking his sorrows,
I will credit Phil Spencer for going on there to do the interview regardless.
And then he said the worst thing imaginable for somebody like me that's actually that's cautiously optimistic about Starfield and is really looking forward to Starfield because I want to play a Bethesda open world game on launch, because I've never had the experience of playing a Bethesda game on launch since Oblivion with all the bugs and glitches. And come full circle, Bethesda used to only make games for Xbox, and now they're back to doing that again. So they kind of come full circle here. But when he said, when Phil Spencer said that there's nowhere in the world where Starfield is an 11 out of 10 and we start selling consoles like crazy. Like, dude, that's the last thing you should be saying.
I don't know why
in promoting
he said
your game.
I don't know why he said that.
That makes me think Starfield is going to be a massive disappointment. Like this game is going to be broken. Like, this game is not ready.
When it comes to Starfield, the Starfield Direct is right after the Xbox Direct, or whatever the Xbox Showcase is.
Right.
That is something that Todd Howard will touch up on, and we all know Todd's magic words: if it ain't fixed, if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
No, he'll
just works.
He'll just get the modders. He'll just get the modders that he doesn't pay at all to fix the game, and then he'll add the mods into the game later to make the game better. Right? I mean, they'll do all the updates, sure, but Skyfall crashes to this day. and Skyfall is a masterpiece. But I played it on my PS4. The remaster for the PS4, that game was crashing a lot on my PS4, right? And this is a game from 2011. It probably works better on my PS5, but I doubt it. It's just like, bro.
Is that a VR game?
No, the original 2011 one. That's remastered, not the VR one.
Okay.
Not the VR one. It's the remastered one. I was playing it throughout the summer of 2021. I beat the game in 30 hours, and the game was crashing a lot. Even in the third act of the game with the main story quest where I'm about to defeat the dragon and save the whole world of Skyfall from Dragon, that whole area, from all the dragons invading, it crashed during that pivotal story moment. And I had to restart, get back into it, get back to that part, and then hope it doesn't crash again. So, and that was a 10-year anniversary.
So basically, Cyberpunk Day 1.
It's crazy. And the game is incredible.
The only thing with Cyberpunk is that you could stand right in front of what's his name? I forget his name. V's best friend, and the background is just like a tornado's passing by, taking everything around. And
yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
And I'm worried for Skyrim Grandma, because Elder Scrolls 6 is going to come out after. I think it's going to come out after she dies, because she wants to live long enough to play Elder Scrolls 6, but she's 89 years old. It's like it's like
now, not to get religious here, but God willing she lives.
It's not gonna. I just don't see it unless they cryovac her, put her in a cryo chamber, and wake her up when the game comes out.
Here's a problem: we don't really have technology for cryo chambers, and even if we do, we don't have the technology to wake people up.
Right. Exactly.
She'll be in there until after it's launched.
Of course, the best thing they could do is maybe try to copy her consciousness into an AI. And see if the AI can play the game. So that would be one good thing.
I don't think we're there yet.
I don't think we're there yet either. But if she lives long enough, I mean, you know.
God willing, she lives long enough.
If she lives long enough.
Now,
but,
again, not to get religious here.
But hey, I'm worried. But I will say this: Xbox Direct looks like it's most likely going to be awesome. That's going to happen next Sunday, June 11th, and with Starfield Direct, which comes on afterwards, which should be about 30-40 minutes long. I think Xbox will most likely kick Sony's ass. And it's weird to say that because Sony, in terms of sales and actual games that are coming out for the console, have been dominating the last 2 years. But that PlayStation showcase was terrible. 12 of those games are coming out on Xbox that they showed at the PlayStation showcase. They're coming out on Xbox.
Microsoft took advantage of that and said,
thank God we got these games coming out.
It was free publicity.
That was so funny. That was such a dig. And the only thing that they premiered that was great was Spider-Man. Like, Insomniac Games saved that showcase.
I think they should have showed something with Wolverine.
Yeah, they should have showed something with Wolverine.
Wolverine would have been better.
But Insomniac Games coming out and showing the symbiote, showing Miles Morales, symbiote, Miles Morales, the villains that they're taking on, and seeing how you can switch gameplay between Miles Morales and Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man. That gameplay looks incredible. And I just loved it. That was a great showcase. But that's the thing. That was the only great thing in it. That was the only great thing. I'm like, Insomniac just saved this showcase because overall it sucked. Like without Insomniac, it would have been worse. With Insomniac, it sucked, but it wasn't a waste of my time.
If Insomniac did not show anything, Sony would have been mocked, ridiculed, and all the.
And why show Jim Ryan? Why show Jim Ryan at all? That guy has the charisma of a fucking snail. Like, he has no charisma whatsoever.
I thought it was more of a snake.
Yeah, he has Snakes have more charisma than him, but he has no charisma. He has no screen presence. He forgets his lines when he's talking. You saw him pause to read the teleprompter. Like he was pausing to read the teleprompter because he couldn't remember his line. I'm like, why put this guy on camera? Why? It's stupid.
I will say this. They did at least show something for the PSVR 2.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't exciting. Excuse me. Even though it wasn't as exciting as it would have been normally on any other showcase. Excuse me.
And they're coming out with new technology that's a handheld Sony thing. But it has to be connected to Wi-Fi the whole time for you to play anything that's on this thing that will probably cost $400. So if you don't have Wi-Fi in your house, which I don't, good luck. Like, it's a waste of money. Unless you're a collector.
If you're a collector and you still have the PlayStation X, good luck collecting this and keeping it alive.
Yeah, you might as well just get a Steam Deck. Just get a Steam Deck.
I'm waiting for the ROG Ally to see how it works, how it functions, and what's better. Steam Deck and ROG Ally battery life, I don't think they have good battery life.
Yeah, I would just wait to get it. I would just get a Steam Deck. Because on the Steam Deck, you can just sign on and play any game that's on PC. Any game that's on Steam, you can play. So I could get a Steam Deck and play The Witcher 1.
Wait, are we able to play multiplayer games on the Steam Deck?
Yeah, I think so. You play multiple games.
Do we need a wire?
But I would only get it just to play The Witcher 1, the first Witcher game. I wouldn't get it for anything else. Yeah.
I'd get it to play all of the games I have in my Steam library, which are rather...
I mean, maybe I would get it to play Cyberpunk 2077 because the mods for that game are freaking awesome. I would probably do it for that too, because the mods for Cyberpunk 2077 has turned that game into a masterpiece.
Yes.
It's the gamers that turned it into the perfection. Like what was hyped up in 2018, it was modders that made the game what it is. And to CDPR's credit, they are hiring those people. They are employing them and paying them money. So that's a good thing to see.
That's a good thing when modders can get the recognition and the work they deserve, because apparently the creators lack some vision. I might have to step away to get a soda. Shoot.
Yeah. You got the hiccups. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because Bethesda doesn't do that at all, and Bethesda has way more money than CDPR.
But
so
you know, the problem with
there's
Bethesda,
no excuse.
The problem
for
with Bethesda is that Bethesda is owned by ZeniMax, excuse me. And ZeniMax is the one that doesn't want to give that extra bit of cash to the people who work.
Yeah. They don't want to employ 12 people all of a sudden to do something they're already doing for free, right?
Yep.
Something that they're passionate about.
Yep.
But overall, Xbox, they have the opportunity to really step up and to steal the thunder from Sony, because Sony already did that. I was expecting something on Bloodborne, at least some announcement, because they've been working on the PC port for Bloodborne for like the last 2 years. I was expecting something like that. And also they announced a remake for Metal Gear Solid 3, but there's no Hideo Kojima working on it, and I don't trust Konami. Even though I'm happy that Konami wants to go back to making real games again, at the same time, they've killed whatever trust and enthusiasm I had for them 10 years ago. So,
for me, it was when Metal Gear Solid Metal Gear 5?
Yeah,
the last one?
Phantom Liberty.
Phantom Liberty, the last one that Hideo Kojima worked on. Kojima Hideo worked on. That is when Konami officially lost my respect. To this day, I don't respect Konami for other reasons. If you play Yu-Gi-Oh, Konami, please give Ancient Gears more support.
And Hideo Kojima doesn't want to work with Konami ever again. They not
only did they take advantage of him, they destroyed the trust between employer.
He didn't want to keep making Metal Gear Solid for the rest of his life, and he also didn't want to switch. He didn't care about mobile games and just making games to make profit. The man is an auteur and he's an artist, and he wants to make video games to make high art. He wants to make high art. That's what he wants to make.
He wants to make a high artistic masterpiece of a story.
Yeah, he wants to make high art. And Death Stranding, to me, is a masterpiece and one of the top 3 greatest video games I've ever played in my life. And, that game is incredible. And, that's what he wanted to make, and Konami didn't want to make it, and so he left. But I can imagine where if Konami told Kojima and Kojima Productions, like, let's say a scenario happens to where they could license out a Silent Hill game, right, to Konami and let Hideo Kojima work on it, and Konami doesn't do any input whatsoever, and it's like ran in a contract and like, we'll license out a Silent Hill game 1 or 2 and let you work on the game, and you get a final cut, you do whatever you want with Silent Hill, you do what you want. Everything we saw in PT is going to come true, right? With Norman Reedus and everybody else, I can see a scenario where Kojima be like, yeah, okay, I'll say yes to this, as long as it's in a contract, it's in writing, and I get to do what I want. If he doesn't get that, then there's no way in hell he's working with Konami ever again.
No, I thought Silent Hill was already being worked on.
No.
Somebody else, no?
No, Silent Hill 2 is getting a remake, which looks amazing. I mean, it looks completely faithful to Silent Hill 2.
Okay, now we...
And they're making that game in conjunction with the movie coming out,
Yes.
Silent Hill 2, done by the same director. And they got the two actors they got are I don't know if they're great actors, but they look the part. And of course, everybody was complaining about the two actors being white. And I'm like, listen, look, the guy wants to be faithful to the game. Okay, he didn't want to change the race or the gender. I'm sorry. Okay, and the movie could still be good.
I'm gonna say this to anybody that complains about race, gender, ethnicity, and sexuality. You need some help. You need some serious counseling and some serious love hugs, man. Because you guys are obsessed with something that makes you, regardless of wanting to be an ally or somebody who's supporting people of those categories, you come off as the very enemy you claim to fight against.
Yeah, and
Now-
it's not necessary too. It's like, I mean, we have, you know, we are getting more diverse Silent Hill games coming out anyway. We're getting a Silent Hill game that's going to take place in medieval Japan, which looks really good. You know, that looks good. So, you know, Konami is trying to fire on all cylinders. You
They're
know,
trying to, and I think Konami may be able to make a comeback. I want to see me
well, they
able.
threw in the towel because they weren't making any money on their mobile games. Every mobile game they came out with after 2015 had flopped. So the dumb shit that they did for the sake of money ended up being an absolute failure. And so now they're back to making single-player video games and trying to build back that trust that they had destroyed in 2015. So I hope that they're genuine, and I hope they put in a real good effort.
That's okay.
And yeah, Silent Hill 2 is going to scare the shit out of me. I'm only going to be able to play that game in the daytime. I'm not going to be able to play it at night. Because, Silent Hill 2 disturbed the fuck out of me when I played it, man. I could not sleep for weeks. That game freaked me out, bro.
Now, I want to bring this conversation back to Street Fighter 6 for two reasons.
Yeah.
We derailed from that originally and covered other topics that we did not have planned to speak about.
But we're going to talk about Final Fantasy 16 afterwards.
Yes.
I'm pre-ordering the game in June. I'm pre-ordering that game. Getting ready.
I'm going to be getting Street Fighter 6 maybe tomorrow. I have to go deposit money. Should I get my paycheck? That check for the extra work I did, or for the school, whatever. But it's something to be able to get into because I do have Tekken 7. I have Mortal Kombat 11. Mortal Kombat 11 I'm not really fond of because
I like the tournaments.
the tournaments are fun.
Tournaments are a lot of fun.
The tournaments are fun, but I'm not fond of how the play comes off. It comes off very similar to Injustice. It's less Mortal Kombat, more Injustice. And Injustice 2...
Injustice, you mean the DC game?
Yes, Injustice.
You're saying the combat is similar to Injustice?
Injustice 2.
You're saying the combat is similar?
Similar.
Okay.
Not the break bar. They fall down, get up, because in a way, you know, when you get their health down completely, they fall down, you walk away, they get up, you get back in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it takes a lot of admiration from Injustice, and Mortal Kombat basically is Injustice playstyle. I'm not fond of it. Also, the character designs just don't look right.
Okay.
For me, in all honesty, I guess they tried to make them look authentic to a certain degree, but it looks a little odd, kind of off. Some characters you like. Scorpion, you know, like you can't do no wrong with Scorpion.
Right.
Sub-Zero too.
Okay. Yeah, and the graphics look good. Graphics look really good. You know, fighting games are on the come up, and you know, as long as you know, which could happen as long as these game studios don't get greedy and try to charge you an arm and a leg for everything you want to do in the game. You know, things will work out.
What they did with Street Fighter 4.
Yeah,
Putting you're doing a special ad.
Yeah, putting characters behind a paywall that you used to just get at an arcade for like 25 cents. You know, all the characters in an arcade. You can still go to an arcade to play those characters. You can go to Barcade, you can come to Action Burger, and you can play all those characters, and you don't have to pay in microtransactions on a new game to get those characters. Like, it's stupid. It's just the greediness of game studios in North America and abroad is just too much. It's too much. And if you're gonna do that, at least put something there to give like an incentive, right? Like one thing I love about League of Legends Wild Rift, what Riot does, is that they put some of their most powerful characters behind paywalls. Some of the most powerful characters you already get, but they put some of the most powerful characters behind paywalls. That's the thing. If you pay for that character, you get a powerful freaking character who can change an entire game, you know?
If you know how to play with them.
Yeah.
Unless you're somebody who's still learning, you're like, wait, that's...
Yeah.
And your team's telling you, you suck, get your lane, do your shit.
Yeah, but Street Fighter 6, it's like, no... I mean, it's like the characters... Some characters are stronger than others, but it's like, I mean, anybody could get good with a certain character. It doesn't matter how powerful the other character is. You know, if you're great at a certain character, it really don't matter.
No, they don't. You know, what I like about the gameplay that they showed is that it's a fighting game. Yeah, a fighting game. However, there's also a part of it that turns, when you're playing a story campaign, that turns into more like a beat-em-up style scroller, side scroller. And it looks fun. And from what it looks like the story is to teach you exactly how to play the game with meters, controls, combos, such on. Now, Street Fighter 6 has a lot of potential, so long as Capcom and Capcom has excuse me, I better get a soda. Capcom has been the phoenix that has gone through the ashes and has become reborn. In essence, I don't mean to sound like wow, no, it's metaphorical. However, Capcom is doing really well, and I hope Street Fighter 6 has a very wonderful launch, considering the fact that there's so much potential and promise to the game.
Yeah, and it's a game that appeals to a certain crowd. So it's not like Street Fighter 6 is competing with a similar game, because we got two major releases in June. We got Street Fighter 6, we got Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy 16 appeals to a completely different crowd.
Now, again, when it comes to...
completely different demographic. That's a big demographic, but a very different demographic. You know.
So the demographics matter. When it comes to Final Fantasy games, the demographics tend to be larger.
Well, yeah.
Final Fantasy is very popular.
No, it's hugely popular, but it's like, I mean, fighting... it's not that fans of fighting games don't play Final Fantasy. They play RPGs too, but
they do.
But a lot of fighting gaming nerds don't play RPGs, and vice versa. So that those two games are not necessarily competing with each other. See, Horizon Forbidden West is... Let's not use that. Well, this is a perfect example of two same games competing with each other, right? Where Horizon Forbidden West was very successful. It sold 10 million copies. That's great. And they're coming out with a third game down the road. But Elden Ring completely demolished Horizon Forbidden West. Why? Because it came out a week later. Both of those games are open world RPGs, and Elden Ring.
There are some slight differences to them.
Right, but there's slight differences.
Horizon Forbidden West holds your hand and tells you where to go.
Well, Horizon Forbidden West is an open world RPG, but there's a very singular way of playing it. You can do other things to equip your character, but you're playing this one character, and the story mostly goes a certain direction. Elden Ring, you have a million different ways of playing the game and going anywhere and doing. There's certain things you gotta do to progress. But that's a super open world. But that's the thing. Both of those games were open world RPGs, and Elden Ring completely demolished the competition because it was just an RPG unlike anything we've ever played before. But that's two games of a similar genre that were competing, and one had to lose and one had to really win. And Elden Ring really won. Right, and Horizon Forbidden West wasn't as successful as it could have been. It was successful, but not as big as it could have been. Horizon Forbidden West could have sold 15 million, 20 million copies. Instead, it sold 10 million copies in a year, which is great, but Elden Ring sold 20 million copies in less than a year. And Elden Ring is probably going to sell 30 million copies by next year.
Don't know.
So that is a huge success, but at the same time, Elden Ring is multi-platform, while Horizon Forbidden West was PS4, PS5, and then eventually PC. So,
well, eventually PC, and with the way things are going, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited for the fighting game community when it comes to Street Fighter 6. You guys got a Street Fighter game again?
Yeah.
You guys got one that's fresh off the wheels, fresh off the press, it's freshly hot.
Yeah.
Brand new, unique.
And so are we talking about Final Fantasy 16 now? Well, I'm pre-ordering the game. I'm doing that this weekend.
So regarding Final Fantasy 16, I have Final Fantasy 14. I did finish Final Fantasy 15 some time ago.
I respect the creators for not trying to kowtow to a woke audience. No, I really do. I respect them for not trying to kowtow to a modern audience and actually just making the story and the world that they wanted to make it. And Square Enix has made Final Fantasy games that have a lot of diversity, you know. But with this one, they chose not to, and that's fine. I have a problem with it. As long as the game is great and has great gameplay, I don't care. I do not care.
I want to say I'm happy that Square Enix did not cater to a minority of people who don't even buy the game, who
Yeah.
don't even play it.
They might agree with the ideology, but they're not going to buy and play this shit.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And there are a lot of SJWs that are my friends who I love and care about. There's a lot of them that I do love, but they're not into the shit.
You're paying for cash. Yeah, you're gonna pay cash. That's card.
Not saying you were going to bring back that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, like, and you know, I have a lot of SJWs who are good friends of mine who I love dearly, who I consider, you know, like sisters, like family. But they're not into the shit that I'm into. I mean, they don't. Most of them don't play video games. It's like some of them do. Some of them are actually into the shit, but most of them don't. Most of them just don't. And you know.
So I want to say that it's not about SJWs or gamers, Nazis, Yazis, far right, this, that, whatever. If you're gonna call somebody names because you don't agree with them, it makes you the fascist. And I'm glad that
Unless they're actually fascists. Right? Unless they're actually terrible people.
Unless,
like
yes. Now, this is not to get into political territory, but don't call people names because there is a saying that I grew up with. I've had one person try to call me some stuff, and I told I know my ethnicity, I know my background, I know what I'm made of. Don't pick a fight with me on that one.
And corporations don't care about you. That's the other thing that a lot of people have to learn the hard way is that corporations in the end only care about money. They don't care about, you know, culture wars and politics. Money is where it's at for these people. And that's the way it is. That's why so many people are getting fired who were getting hired 6 years ago. I'm like, the progressive, woke, far left stuff is not making any money. And so everyone's getting laid off. It's just the way it is.
Listen, if you
It's not really your fault. It's, you know, you got to make what you wanted to make for about 5 years. And now it's over.
the free ride for activism and ideology.
Free money.
That
Free
is-
money.
That has come to an end. That's
Yeah,
come to
good
an
money. Good money. They made good money from like 2016 to 2022, 2021. And then now it's all over for the most part. Now it's all over.
end. Now I want to be brutally honest. If the companies in some point want to investigate your performance, your ethics, what you've done, your conversations, they're allowed to. As to what the repercussions are, I'm not able to discuss because I do not have an idea as to what they may come up with, what retaliations, what punishments, or what actions they would even pursue if they ever chose to do that. But I do want to say this, because they're following the story and ideas that they want to tell for Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
I'm happy. The game looks it's really interesting. It has a very unique take on the game.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because
It's very Souls-like too, because there's not a lot of difficulty options. But the easy mode in the game comes from items. So if you have a particular ring that kind of tells you when to dodge, when to pivot, when to do this, when to do that, it's just one item. It's a ring, and I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to play this game. This is great. So I could just use a ring to make everything super easy for me, and then I could take away the ring if I wanted to. So it's not like a difficulty option per se. The difficulty option is something that's in the game, but it's it makes the game really easy. It's different from Dark Souls where
you have to learn the mechanics.
Yeah, you have to learn the
timing,
mechanics,
the rhythm, the movements,
and
everything.
you could take things from Dark Souls and to make the game a lot easier. but you still have to learn all the mechanics. Like I just figured out after almost 2 years of playing the game how to grind for souls. And it's the bridge where in Dark Souls 1 where the dragon kills everybody. You just go up there, aggro the dragon kills everybody, and you get like almost 700 souls every time. Every time. I was doing this for 30 minutes and I got almost 20,000 souls, and I'm leveling up my character, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so happy I found this place. It's great. I had no idea. I looked it up. What's the best place to grind for souls?
Aww.
And then I found it on YouTube. I was like, fuck yeah, this is great.
No.
Yeah, I never stumbled upon it by myself. I didn't even know it. And I was like, it was there in front of me the whole time. It was great. So now I'm making a lot of money. And now I'm leveling up like crazy. But, so what do you think about Final Fantasy 16 and the rings and stuff and all the gameplay they showed?
So what the thing is with Final Fantasy 16, I've always played either on the your regular difficulty, not your normal, medium, mid-level difficulty. If not, I play hard. I depends how I feel that day. I'll play on hard. If not, I'll have two playthroughs, one for regular, one for hard, because that's just the kind of person I am.
Yeah, I always play games on easy mode when I play them.
No.
Except when I'm playing From Software games. From Software games.
There is no easy mode.
From Software games and Souls-like games, I play them the way they are, and what I do is that I try to make those games easier. And so I always figure out what items to get, what to do this, how to do that. And as soon as I put all that together, I level up my character to like the 10th degree, and I'm kicking everybody's ass. And that's what I love about some From Software games, that they force you to think and to strategize. And that's what I do. I strategize on how to make the games as easy as possible.
And that's the great thing about...
I don't care what anybody says online. I'm playing as a mage build, and I'm using the most OP weapon. I will use a rapier, and I will be playing as a mage build. It's like, Sekiro, you just had to get good, and you had to learn the art of the cheese. And I cheese the Demon of Hatred every time. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll just cheese. I'm not spending 9 hours on a fucking boss, bro.
See, part of me was about to say I don't think he learned anything about the boss. He just looked it up online. What is boss move? Boss move is weakness.
No,
I
just cheese it by
catch it with a torch.
What I do with the Demon of Hatred, I just trap it, and then I climb up the tower, jump to the other building, stand there, and then he jumps to his death. That's how I do it. It's great. You know, and it's harder to do that than to actually fight the boss sometimes, because you gotta figure out how to do that jump perfectly. That takes hours.
Roll. Get to the edge. Barrel roll off the edge. Woo! Not going. Hey. I could be wrong. I'm most likely wrong.
Yeah.
Now that is not to say that Final Fantasy 16 will not be a promising game. I've seen some footage of what was released by Square Enix. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about leaks or anything. I don't even know what I find online that is released by Square Enix, because you have people who try to say this is official and it's not even game or anything about the game. But the game looks though the game looks extremely promising. I am looking forward to pre-ordering it if I have that spare cash after I buy after I buy Street Fighter 6. And maybe whatever games that are on sale on Steam.
Yeah.
That are anime based and not censored, because Sony wants to censor everything for whatever nonsensical reason.
Sony doesn't censor things they don't care about, right? I mean, if it's not in their purview, it's like they own Crunchyroll and Funimation, but they're not going to censor Japan and tell them to not do what they're going to do.
From what I heard, Japan is looking into its own subbing and dubbing companies, and I'm happy if they do.
And
that.
I love Crunchyroll now. It's better now than it was 10 years ago. But Funimation app is also really great too. But Sony's not gonna, they're not gonna tell Japanese studios what to do, because they know Japan has to make anime for their audience, and not, I mean, audiences in Japan love Western stuff, but they don't care about changes for Western audiences, right? Like it's, but they're into Western stories and Western literature, and they love a lot of our cartoons. They love a lot of our stories too. They love our foods.
From what I've heard, when it came to some changes done to characters in stories that were just rewritten for whatever sake of money grabbing. The Japanese audience, Chinese audience, and everyone else is not happy with them over the East. So keep in mind, if you want to go to the Middle East, you're not going to get the same reaction. They're not going to like it. That's going to go a little too close to politics, so we're going to move into that. Now, our next topic is going to be about the whole issue with Kotaku and Nintendo going to war at each other because Kotaku thinks that they're the saviors of all things good.
When they make themselves look really, really stupid. It's like you are leaking stuff that Nintendo didn't want you to leak, and then you get blacklisted, and then you compare Nintendo to Nazi Germany and Nazis and Japan's old dictatorship from World War II, and it's like, bro, you broke their rules, you did something you weren't supposed to be doing, and so now you're blacklisted.
It's funny. It's no accountability for themselves. They want to play the victim, yet they're to blame.
Yeah, and you almost feel bad for these companies that shill for game studios, and then they screw up, and then they get backlash and get blacklisted, and then they decide to be a bunch of petty prima donnas. This happened with Collider, you know. Collider, John Campea, and who's the other guy, Christian Harloff, were shilling for Disney and Lucasfilm for years, and then they did not get the special treatment that they were expecting, and then when they're treated like, oh, just anybody else, you know, they get pissed off and make a bunch of angry hate videos about Disney and D23 and Lucasfilm or whatever, and it's like, bro, what do you expect? These are big-time corporations. They don't give a fuck about you. So just because, and Christian Harloff made a joke of himself in 2019 where he says, I've been spending 5 years being the best Star Wars fan in the world, and I didn't get an invite to their Star Wars Galaxy theme park. I'm like, bro, you weren't working a real job. He's like, I've been busting my ass for 5 years being a real Star Wars fan. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like, you weren't a lumberjack. You weren't a truck driver. You weren't a truck driver driving around America delivering trees. You know?
This guy wasn't even cleaning the damn toilets.
You weren't doing fucking labor, bro. You weren't fucking picking up 200 pounds worth of fish to ship off to someplace. Like, you weren't doing that, bro.
You're not bending and standing and reaching and stacking and piling and you're not even fixing cars.
You're not really working.
The guy
and I love and respect film criticism. That's not a knock on that. I'm saying that Christian Harloff, him making it like it was some type of job. It's not, bro. It's easy to watch a Star Wars movie. It's easy to read Star Wars books. I do that for free. I don't even get paid for this.
Listen.
I do it for free.
He's reading the new Star Wars books coming out of Disney, so he's your best source of.
Yeah, I'm getting into the High Republic after I'm done with The Witcher 3.
I need to find the means of being able to accept that this might be good. If it's not good, I can always give it away. Some poor scrub will want some half-assed story that's not that great in the eyes of somebody, as a Star Wars fan, not the Star Wars fan, but as a Star Wars fan, who is very familiar and knowledgeable with the expanded universe, what Disney called the Legends, which they say is not canon, is now canon, and also needs to be proven canon in the Ahsoka series. Very confusing when you follow that along. I don't know. I mean, when it comes to Disney, anything they touch dies.
Almost.
Willow.
I mean, Bob Iger's trying to.
Willow. They touched Willow. Willow died.
They've canceled a lot of shows right now because they're in debt, and so Bob Iger's trying to clean up Bob Chapek's mess right now. But you know, Disney was on a huge tear in the 2010s, and in the early 2020s, they were still the #1 studio in terms of the box office, but. You know, they got a lot of catching up to do. They got a lot of work ahead of theirs because there's no guarantee that they're going to have real box office hits this year. Outside of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is a big success. That's doing really, really well. But the Marvels, not guaranteed to be a hit. Wish.
The Marvels is not gonna, I don't think the Marvels is going to do good.
Yeah, Wish looks good.
Nobody likes Brie Larson.
Right,
Nobody likes Captain Marvel.
Right, Wish looks good. There's no guarantee that's a success. And you've heard of Wish? No, yeah, see, that's the thing. No. That's the thing. Most people have not even heard of this movie. And people on Box Office Reports are acting like this is going to make $1 billion. I'm like, even if this movie is great, they're not even promoting the movie. So the fact they're not even promoting the movie heavily this far out, right? And I didn't even hear about this movie until yesterday. And I watched the trailer. It looks good, but they're not even promoting the movie that much. So I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I'm gonna say is Disney is in a position that, albeit, I'll be honest. I'll be straightforward and blunt. Albeit that Disney is in this predicament, it's a well-deserved predicament. It is a well-deserved predicament on Disney's end because they're trying to be a company that is doing more than what they're supposed to. Entertain and provide entertainment. Entertain and build the entertainment. They're doing a little bit too much more after that. That's not their purview. That's not their specialty.
Well, Disney can do whatever it wants, but at the same time, I want Disney to be successful. Like that's what I want. I want Disney to be successful. Stop doing lazy remakes and putting in diversity, pretending that that's going to make the remake better. Like Peter Pan and Wendy wasn't better because they decided to do diversity. And The Little Mermaid seems to be doing well, but that wasn't better because the main character was played by a black woman. It's the remakes are not suddenly better because
I'm gonna say this because I was listening to some Disney insiders. No. That's incorrect. I don't have Disney insiders. I have family that is close to Disney and they know about something going on. I was listening to some individuals who follow Disney very, very carefully. And they have that information. They are able to gather and do the investigation and whatnot. Disney, from what I understand, doesn't have the sufficient money, long-term wise, to continue operations as one would do. They have, 3 to 6 months cash on hand for operations? And then Comcast, is it Comcast? Comcast doesn't want to... the whole that Disney's going to buy Hulu from Comcast for $9 billion may no longer be $9 billion, may be a lot more than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to Bob Iger. Does he want to keep Hulu and buy out more of Comcast or just keep it the way it is? Disney, I don't think... Well, Disney is hemorrhaging money, but Disney is also getting money. So that's the thing in Hollywood.
The Disney parks are what's their bread and butter. Making the money.
And their movies are doing better at the box office. But the thing is, they're billions.
GOG 3 is doing
right,
well.
But also Avatar as well. Avatar 2 was their biggest success ever, more successful than Spider-Man No Way Home. And they get to keep the majority of that money, unlike with Spider-Man No Way Home. So Disney is making profit, but they're also losing money. What's going to happen in the next 2 years?
Disney Plus is not...
It's losing money.
It's losing money.
That's the big money loss. They're making money in theaters, trying. They did it with Avatar and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Disney Plus is their biggest loss right now.
So what's going on is they're making that money. They make, say, $10 billion, and Disney Plus is losing $11 billion?
Oh, no, Disney Plus is losing almost $2 billion.
Okay,
so while they're making billions in profits, they're losing $2 billion basically off of Disney Plus. But here's the thing: what Bob Iger is going to do, and this would be this could be a swan song, is if he sells Disney to Apple. That's what they need. Everybody is going to get bought out by tech, and Disney will get bought by Apple. That's the most logical. Or they get bought by Amazon. But I think Amazon is circling Warner Brothers. They want Warner Brothers, and David Zaslav is closer to Jeff Bezos than he is with Tim Cook. And I hope not. I think Disney will get sold off to Apple TV Plus, and that will be Bob Iger's crowning achievement. That will save Disney forever, because Apple has a lot of fuck you money. They're going to get into... They're almost $3 trillion in the next two... They're going to get to the $3 trillion market in the next 2 to 3 years. So if Bob Iger is really, really smart, he would sell Disney to Apple, because that's what they need. That's what they need.
I don't think it's going to be enough, to be honest. Financial as what's
it will. I mean, Apple will have a lot of debt, but Apple's sales are always great, and they have a lot of money to fix Disney's debt. Whatever debt Disney Plus has, Apple can take on that debt and pay it off because they have that much money. But the one studio that's really struggling more than Disney right now, to my surprise, was Paramount. Their stock dropped big time. When they
Yeah.
changed how they were acquiring money, Paramount Plus is a huge money loss, which is crazy because they bring in so many subscribers every year.
See,
But
I
it was
think-
so bad that one Paramount investor said, we should get out of streaming because this is bad. They lost billions of dollars.
Yes. So, anyways, moving on to the next one. We were talking about what Kotaku Nintendo, and we didn't really talk about Kotaku Nintendo. Back to Kotaku Nintendo. Well,
I think we're kinda done with that.
We did. talk
Yeah.
about it.
We can talk about EA.
We're talking
But
about EA
how
in
great
their
they used to
prime.
be.
In the 90s and the early 2000s, when EA actually made games. Like
90s and
enjoy.
2000s. Yeah, they made games you could enjoy, not full of microtransactions and everything, and they had all the content. They had so much content back then that made it look so real, made it feel real. Like I remember an old Madden games 20 years ago where if you were pitching a shutout in a game and you got like 50, 55 points or 60 points, and the other team got like 6 points, and you get to the fourth quarter, that whole arena is completely empty except for the fans that are supporting your team, right? That's it. That's like those are the only people that are staying behind to celebrate. Other than that, it's like real life, and now they don't even do that anymore. They took all that shit out.
And, you know that one player you like, and you kind of want to make a team. You can get them. You can make a team. You can acquire them through the old, good-fashioned hard work of struggle and grind. Recruit them, and there you go. You've got your dream team.
Yeah.
Those games used to be like that. You didn't have FIFA Ultimate Team and Madden Ultimate Team. So what and what? That's funny. It's the same thing with wrestling games back then, but those were not EA builds or EA games. EA in their prime was an example of when games were really standing out. Like you said, when you were playing games, say like in baseball, you're shutting a team out, or in football, you see the crowd kind of thin out. It's like, weren't there more people here? It was a spectacular sight to see because now you have a reason to shut down a team to see that one sight. You're like, oh look, your team, whatever your team may be, but Team A, your team versus Team A versus Team Z. You shut out Team Z. Now you only have a stadium full of Team A fans. That's actually one of the best things that you could think of as a sports fan. You love to see it because it has happened. Such an example you could use that's more modern that has happened most recently was the what game was that? Not a baseball game. It was a
FIFA?
It was a FIFA game, I believe. So, no, but FIFA. I don't think FIFA was made by EA.
No, FIFA is made by EA.
Oh, FIFA is.
FIFA is EA.
Oh, FIFA
That's
is,
their
yes.
crown jewel.
Yes.
That's their crown jewel.
Now I'm trying to remember which game.
I mean,
it was.
FIFA brings in $1 billion. It brings in like $2 billion a month. About almost $2 billion a month to EA.
All because you have some diehard fans that really
Lots of
want
soccer fans that spend way too much money on that game.
You would think that instead of spending that amount of money on the game, they would buy the tickets and go fly.
I remember when EA used to put on awesome trailers for FIFA games with the most bomb ass fucking music ever. It was like awesome techno music they used to put on for FIFA trailers back in the 2000s, like 2003, 2004. Some of the best fucking music I love.
I want to say,
And it's like they don't even put in that much effort because they don't even need to anymore. It's like people are gonna buy the game and then spend $100 a person. Like the average person's gonna spend $100 on whatever they want to spend on in the game. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I will be honest with you. I remember when the EA logo was EA Sports Syndicate.
Yeah, that's gone now.
Yeah, now you have EA. You have like EA Electronic Arts.
And the worst thing that ever happened to BioWare was being bought by EA. See, ironically, if BioWare had stuck with Microsoft, they would be better off. But the problem is, it doesn't matter what EA does, or what Microsoft or what other studio does. The problems with BioWare are strictly BioWare, because they pride themselves on crunching their workers to do BioWare magic, which is complete bullshit. It's like you're working on a game,
You have no idea
and
what
you have no idea what
it is.
nothing is working until exactly a month before the game comes out, or 3 months before the game comes out, and then everything starts working out. It's like it's complete horseshit.
That is BioWare magic.
You just got lucky multiple times until you stopped getting lucky. Because you know what killed BioWare was the production of Dragon Age Inquisition, which is a great game. that isn't as beloved as it used to be because the following open world RPGs that came out the following year killed any love and enthusiasm that game had, and people still love it, but not like they used to because The Witcher 3 came out and did everything better. Everything. Infinitely better, from storytelling to world building to character development, world exploration. It did everything better with a smaller studio and a smaller team, right? With less money than EA. And they pulled it off. And CDPR does a lot of crunch. And to this day, they'll tell you, they don't know how The Witcher 3 came out and became such a great beloved game because the work environment for that game was a disaster too. But Dragon Age Inquisition, for exactly 12 months was the worst work environment ever. And it killed their developers, it ruined their studio, and it led to the disaster of Mass Effect Andromeda and what's the other one? What's the first person? Anthem. Yeah, Anthem became a disaster too, because everybody was so burnt the fuck out from Dragon Age Inquisition, and EA was making all these stupid ass decisions at the last minute that changed everything.
Who is their CEO again?
I forgot his name, but what messed up Anthem's production?
Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, what messed up Anthem's production was them randomly saying, let's have let's let the guy fly. Let's put flying in the game. And video games are not like movies where you can just randomly change stuff post production or add stuff with CGI or something or do a reshoot or whatever. Like in video games, if you go from having your character walking to flying, you have to change everything with how the game is designed from the ground up. And that really fucked their production because some CEO who got the final say said, we want the character to fly. We want the guy to fly.
From what I've heard, and Jason Schreier reported it, Dragon Age 4 is just Anthem with dragons.
Oh yeah, Dragon Age 4, I'm not expecting that game to be great. That game is going to be a disaster.
That game's going to be Dragon Age.
I can't wait to play it too, just for that reason. I'm like, dude, I want to bear history. You know, I love BioWare, but if that gets BioWare shut down,
I'm for it.
Oh well, you know,
I'm for it. It'll be the last.
It was a great run.
It'll be the last BioWare game we can play.
Yeah, it was a great run from 2003 to 2012. They had a great 2014. They had a great run. They really did. Mass Effect 3 got better with updates because they added in more endings. The problem is that game only had mostly one ending.
Well,
and it ended disappointingly. You didn't have multiple options. But then they fixed that after patch, update, whatever else. But other than that, they had a great run from 2003 to 2014.
You know, I'll be honest. I think Mass Effect should have stood with that ending, or they could have remade the ending itself. Because I can see that BioWare wanted to leave it off at the ending of Mass Effect 3. They didn't want to go to Mass Effect 4 because they already told the story of the Reapers, and there was like, what else is there to tell? Then Mass Effect Andromeda was supposed to be the next Mass Effect storyline game, and the game is good. The game has a solid foundation, solid gameplay.
It's just the graphics and the bugs killed it. The graphics, the facial expressions. What they were going for in terms of graphic fidelity and how to put the game together, it just didn't work out.
You know,
it didn't have a bad story. It was just
the story is good. The game, the gunplay, the combat, everything is phenomenal. Exploration is wonderful. If EA had left the team that they took off to go work on Anthem, if they had left them to fix it, to flatten out whatever kinks and iron it out, the game would be just as great as Mass Effect 1.
Yeah. And you know, EA has, by the whole situation at BioWare is so chaotic that Casey Hudson can't even stay at the studio because it's worse than where he was 12 years ago. You know, like he leaves, he comes back, and then he leaves again. And I don't think he's coming back. But Dragon Age 4, if that game turns out to be good, that could be bad for BioWare's future because if that production for that game is terrible. They've had multiple directors leave, multiple game directors leave. They have a lot of writers. They have so much turnover with that game. That's how shitty the production actually is. So if that game comes out next year and it's actually a great game, nothing is going to change. It's just going to get worse and worse, and then the next Mass Effect game is going to suck. Gonna be trash. And
then whatever Dragon Age game after that, or whatever other BioWare game after that.
Yeah.
Jade Empire. I would love if they No, I don't want them to remake it. I'd rather play the old one.
I would love to have. I'm happy Ubisoft is doing this. I wanted an open world or open galaxy, I guess, Star Wars game that has a multiplayer component. Because I wish that Star Wars Old Republic wasn't just on PC. I wish it came for consoles as well. I wish they did that. I would have loved to play that game with other Star Wars fans on console because I don't have a lot of money to buy a very high-end PC to play a game like that.
You know, the
Maybe I
problem,
could play it on Steam Deck, but you know.
the problem, maybe, most likely. The problem is also that the game is not funded enough. There's not enough manpower and not enough funds. And EA is just leaving it on a skeleton crew. It's kind of not right.
Yeah.
The game's gotten a lot better. I've gone back to it. It's gotten a lot better. I'm playing my Imperial Agent. I want to get him to level 50, get his story done. And then from there work on maybe my Trooper or my Smuggler, maybe my Jedi Counselor or Jedi Knight, Sith Warrior or Sith Inquisitor, whichever one.
Yeah.
The thing though is EA. It's Andrew Wilson. He needs to allocate more resources to BioWare Austin to work on Star Wars: The Old Republic so they can get more expansions, more stories, more content. Rather than going with the cartel market and putting all those cosmetics for sale and people buying that. And then that money goes where? To EA, to other places, not to Star Wars: The Old Republic. Should go to Star Wars: The Old Republic though.
Yeah.
Anyways, now we're moving on to our next topic, the fighting game community. I think we already covered that up with Street Fighter 6.
No, we talked about Street Fighter 6. We haven't talked about the fighting game community.
Okay, so
I don't know what your thoughts are on all that.
So it might be a short topic, but fighting game community, there's a lot for them to look forward to. You have Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, Mortal Kombat 1, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi. That's coming out. So it looks like a very promising stacked list and future for the fighting game community. Consider the fact that there are so many fighting games coming out that are going to be very, very beloved, very, very desired by the community itself. My question though is, which of these 4 games would rank 1 to 4? 1 being the highest, 4 being the lowest. Or if you want to do the 4 highest and 1 lowest, I guess I'm not sure. You can put in your comments down below what you think would be better, 4 or 1, 4 being highest, 1 being lowest, 1 being highest, 4 being lowest. Now, my curiosity comes down also to whether the fighting game community as a whole is interested in a Mortal Kombat reboot, the new take on Street Fighter, the continuation of Tekken, and the revival of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking forward to like all the rage at the fighting game community and all the trash talking, all the shit talking, and all of the rage and everything. It's gonna be so much fun.
Do not let any...
Oh, it's gonna be great. I just want CrowCat to make a really, really great video. I would love for CrowCat to make a video on it. It would be so funny. It would be so hilarious.
Oh, it'd be a lot of nice things. Now, my only dilemma would be whether or not the fighting game community is going to rally around the game, and if so, which game more specifically?
Yeah.
I know Street Fighter is very popular, so is Tekken, so is Mortal Kombat. All of the games are all of the games are popular. All the games are beloved, and there's something. Now, I also want to mention that I've heard and I've read that there's a remake for Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in the works somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think the fighting game community is going to be really happy with that one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I just want to see. I just love it when another player is like about to win a game or is doing well, and then screws up completely and loses. It's just like it's the best of times. Like that happened at a Smash Brothers tournament, I think a year ago or a couple of years ago, where this guy was about to win and he was taking on this guy who was like in Smash Brothers. He was like, his health was like at like 100 something. Like one hit would have killed him. One hit would have killed him. And the other guy, and it was like their last life. And the other guy was like at 30 something, right? He did a move where he didn't land it on the ground. Instead, he landed it completely at the bottom. It completely screwed up. And he ended up killing himself by accident. He lost the whole game. It was so funny. He got so mad, he just got up and walked away. It was so great.
You know, there's
It was so funny.
what I like about the fighting community is that the fighting game community is that there are instances in which such things happen, for players, it's like, yeah, I won, you lost. But it's like, man, you had it. What happened?
Lost all that money. It was so funny. The whole thing was
You know,
hilarious.
it's funny because the fighting game community really knows how to rally around such causes. Cause for money, the cause for joy. Now we're done with that topic. We're gonna move on to the next topic, which is gonna be his topic. It's gonna be about the book for Witcher 3. I will leave you here with this young man, this curly haired man of the double spawn.
Well, I haven't.
Anyways, about I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead. I haven't read the book yet. I'm going to start reading the book this week or next week. The Witcher, the third Witcher book in the Witcher book saga called The Time of Contempt. I'm going to read that book and get ready and educate myself on what goes on in the book, so I can be fully educated and fully prepared to watch season 3 of The Witcher on Netflix. And I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to hate watch it, and you know, just try to see what they get wrong and adapting it, and what they got badly, what they got right and what they got wrong. And yeah, I'm just going to be watching the new season critically, and I'm going to be hate watching the new season after finishing reading the book and learning everything, because the showrunner Lauren Hissrich is a terrible writer. She's a terrible showrunner. She has a whole writer's room of writers that hate the Witcher books, are not fans at all. They're not fans of the Witcher game at all. And they're going to do their own SJW stuff, right? They're just going to do their own SJW feminist nonsense with the Witcher. They're going to make Ciri into a Witcher, and they're going to have female Witchers. They're going to butcher the book and the lore, and they're going to change everything. And the writer of the books, Andrzej Sapkowski, doesn't give a fuck. And fine, that's his right. He wrote all the books. He made a lot of money. He's hugely successful in Poland. His books are hugely successful in Poland, are now successful outside of Poland. The writer, Andrzej Sapkowski, does not give a fuck. He doesn't care. He doesn't care that the show's faithful to his books or not, or if they're terrible. He just doesn't care. He's like, and when he's interviewed about it, he's like, yeah, I've seen shows that are better. I've seen shows that are worse. And that's it. I actually respect Andrzej Sapkowski not giving a fuck, because he has his success, and as far as he's concerned, video games, movies, and television are lesser mediums than books, which I respectfully disagree. I love books. I love literature. It's the first art. Literature is the first art. And I think video games and movies and TV shows can be just as great as artistically relevant as the greatest of literature. But he doesn't feel that way. Again, he's from a different era. He's 74 years old. So if that's how he feels, that's how he's feeling. And I do admire the fact that he just doesn't give a fuck. And he's making a lot of money off of his books. And that's it. He's just getting paid, and fuck it. Like, and he doesn't have any passion to keep writing the books, because he originally started writing the books for his son, and his son died 4 years ago. His son died pretty young, 40-something years old. I don't know if he had cancer or some type of illness, but he died young. And so Andre just doesn't care to keep the shit going. And he's fine making the money. And he was never passionate about the books at all. He only started writing the books for his son. And he started making a lot of money, so he kept writing it. But those books have never really been his passion. It's not something he's ever cared about. But they became hugely successful, And everybody loves his books. And that's it, It's all good. But I will read the third book this week or starting next week. And, I'll be getting fully prepared for the clusterfuck that's probably going to be season 3 of The Witcher, because The Witcher Blood Origin was so terrible. I mean, that showrunner is a complete juvenile jackass. That guy, dude, it's just stupid. They just took a great, intelligent book and tried to make it appeal to dumbasses. They're not even watching this shit because it's so poorly produced.
Well, dumbass has got a dumbass somehow, right?
Yeah. These people live in a fucking bubble, I swear.
You gotta get a needle in the
bunch of yes people. Just surround themselves with yes people. It's like the writers of Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, where they thought it was a good idea to have the places by a volcano to blow up to become Mordor, and it was called this. I think they called it the Southlands or something beforehand, and then like they changed the font from Southland to Mordor. And the way it was done in the show in episode 7 was so terrible. Oh. But I'm pretty sure that writer's room thought it was like the coolest shit. I can't even imagine their reaction to it. Be like, well, dude, that would be so awesome. And it wasn't awesome at all. It was fucking stupid.
Amazon is blowing a couple $1 billion on Lord of the Rings. Netflix is blowing a couple $100 million, not $1 billion, on The Witcher.
And you know, I think people would enjoy the Rings of Power a little bit more if they didn't say it was an adaptation. If they just said this is fan fiction, this is something that's inspired by Lord of the Rings. You know, something like what Alejandro Jodorowsky wanted to do with Dune. He never wanted to adapt Frank Herbert's Dune. He was inspired by Dune to make his own story. So he was going to have some of the characters, he was going to have some of the plot points, but he was going to change everything and do his own thing. So while Frank Herbert fans of Dune would have thought it was the worst adaptation of all time, they probably still could have been a great movie because it would have been made by an artist and an auteur who wanted to make the movie the way it was made. But he didn't get to make the movie, so he took all of his ideas, he changed the name, and he just called it the Incal, and then he called it the Metabarons, and then he called it Technopolis. All of his story ideas they wanted to put in Dune the movie, he didn't get to put it in Dune, he put it in comic books and graphic novels, and he created a whole new universe called the Yodoverse. And it's a whole new universe where you have the story of the Incal and John DeFool and the Metabaron. And it's a whole universe, a whole new ideas that he got from wanting to make the movie, right? See, that's something that fans can appreciate, right? That's something fans could love. But they didn't do that with Lord of the Rings of Power. They just called it an adaptation, and it's a terrible adaptation. It's not faithful at all.
And you know, it's what's worse is you take something like Lord of the Rings, which is beloved by millions. I would say a couple billion people.
Maybe 1 billion people. Yeah.
Billion people. Same thing like Star Wars, which is beloved by a very large
Billions.
number of people, and you bastardize these franchises. Look what Amazon did with season 1 and 2 of Lord of the Rings. They bastardized Lord of the Rings.
Season 1.
Season
2 is not going to be better, so I can just assume it'll be shit. But that's the thing. That's the argument that fans of the show try to make on Twitter. They're like, well, it's not an adaptation of Silmarillion, you idiot. So it's not really, that's why it's not really that faithful. I'm like, but it's supposed to be an adaptation of Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King appendices, right? The appendices. And the show is not faithful at all to the appendices. It's not faithful to that shit at all. It changes everything from what you could read in the appendices. So that's what it's adapting from, and it's not even faithful to that. Like, you had an argument with the Silmarillion, fine, but you don't have an argument at all since they completely said they're adapting it from the appendices in the books. And they're not even doing that. And then they think Lord of the Rings fans are fucking stupid, right? Where they said that the Harfoots, the hobbits, in Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, they try to say at Comic-Con they're not hobbits, they're Harfoots. They're the ancestors to the hobbits. And then when you read Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, with like the first 3 chapters, it says the Harfoots are another kind of hobbits. They are hobbits. They're not like a different species of hobbits that evolved into hobbits. They are hobbits.
Listen.
So these people think we're fucking stupid.
Listen. What the worst thing you can have is a writer or someone in the creative room who is obviously a high school dropout and rather illiterate because they don't seem to understand. What
There were
the fuck
script
is going
doctors at Bad Robot, which is already a bad fucking sign.
This is why AI will end up replacing a lot of writers.
Right? Why not?
Because you don't have to deal with such stupidity that doesn't properly correlate with anything on the story that's already established.
Yeah.
And now they are trying to contradict established lore. You can't do that. It's already established. It's before you. You mean to tell me that the floor is not floored because it has tar on it?
Yeah.
Or brick?
And then you got great writers like the writer of Succession, which had a phenomenal series finale. Great episode. Every episode is great for the most part. I mean, that's an incredible show. You know, keep them around, right? I mean, really.
Listen, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this right now, once clearly for all studios to understand. If you hire your writers again, make sure that they are able to follow the fucking lore.
Or just be great writers and stay true to the spirit of the show they're creating.
Yes, don't let them be like Kathleen Kennedy and her ilk from Lucasfilm that have to recreate everything because I don't even know what the hell was going through their head. Or Amazon with writers that they have that didn't know anything about Lord of the Rings, and or Netflix with The Witcher. They don't know anything at all, and they're claiming that everyone else is wrong, but not them.
Yeah.
Those
Or what happened with Game of Thrones, where the two jackasses decided to do their own thing and ruined a show that started off amazing. I mean, the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones were like one of the greatest. It was groundbreaking, really, for fantasy television. It was unpredictable. It was shocking. It was incredible. It had so many twists and turns with the politics. It was adult. It was so much adult content, and it pulled no punches. And then it basically became a badly written, poor dialogue show with way too much plot armor for so many different characters. And it got ran into the ground. And it's still a really good show overall. You know, overall, it was still really good, but it ended badly. You know.
Drill it!
But oh well.
You need to take a freaking oil drill.
And now they're doing the 3-body problem, which I have no faith they're going to do a good job with.
I don't believe it.
I have no faith.
They lost my faith when they bastardized season 1. I was like, oh no.
Season 1 of what?
Witcher, Lord of the
No,
Rings.
they're not in charge of Witcher Lord of the Rings. David Benioff and Dan Weiss, they did Lord of Game of Thrones, which they fucked up in the end. But they're doing a 3-body problem, and I have no hope that adaptation is going to be good. So,
Listen,
no hope whatsoever.
they're hitting a miss, but they're truly a miss.
Yeah.
I have no hope.
But at least they don't sit on their ass waiting to make something when they sign a $200 million deal, unlike J.J. Abrams, who signed a almost $500 million deal with Warner Brothers, and he didn't make shit for 4 years. It's like, he got $400 million, and he was supposed to do an original science fiction show called Demi-Mon, and there was no progress on that show whatsoever. None.
You know, I hope.
He was producing so many shows, but he was not making anything. It was so funny. I was like, what kind of shit is this?
I hope Warner Brothers reclaims their money. They didn't do shit.
No, they did. They were claiming half of it. That's the funny. They canceled half of that contract, and they canceled the show he wanted to make because David Zaslav was like, why are we spending $250 million on a science fiction show that's not based on anything popular, that's apparently a new IP? Meanwhile, we got House of the Dragon that costs $150 million, and that's based on a show that has hundreds of millions of viewers and millions of fucking readers. So Zaslav was like, what are we doing? So let's cancel that science fiction show. Let's keep doing this House of the Dragon series, you know?
Mind you, David Zaslav is a guy who knows how to get shit done. Unlike Iger right now, who is struggling with everything.
Well, Iger has a lot more on his plate than David Zaslav. David Zaslav had to deal with a limited amount of things, but Iger, he's dealing with a streaming service that's flopping. He had to cancel like 10, 20 different shows and take off like 20 different shows and movies off the service, as well as trying to delay MCU projects because that shit got way oversaturated. He had to delay all that stuff. He's got to focus on Lucasfilm actually making a Star Wars movie instead of just announcing the shit. So he's dealing with a lot more franchises and a lot more shit on his plate.
I'm hoping that the writer's strike lasts.
The only thing that's a guarantee.
So that next year when the writer's strike finally comes to an end in like 2024 towards the end or 2025, that Kathleen Kennedy gets.
Well, the writer's strike should be over by August or October of this year. But Bob Iger knows that the only safe bet they have is James Cameron and Avatar. So if he sold Disney to Apple, Tim Cook, especially based on James Cameron's contract and his estate, no, they can't really fuck with what James Cameron wants to do. And Disney wants to make an Avatar series, but they have to get his permission. And he said the technology is not ready until 10 years from now. So, I mean,
same thing.
they're kind of stuck.
Oddly enough, that's the same thing. That's the same exact words George Lucas said about his sequel trilogy, about a sequel trilogy.
No, he said that about a sequel trilogy in the 80s. He was waiting for the technology to catch up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but James Cameron said for an Avatar series, the technology, the motion capture is not there for a series until 10 years from now, until 8 years from now. So, you know, but Disney can't do anything, can't take Avatar away from James Cameron and do what they want because of James Cameron's contract that he put in with his lawyers after 2009 with Fox Studios, and that contract is as long as he's alive, as long as his kids are alive, as long as his wife is still alive, that estate can
That's
it's like the Tolkien estate, but he's alive. He's not dead like Tolkien and his son. James Cameron is alive.
You know what's funny is that Tolkien's gonna end up rewriting or recreating that contract so that his kids and the kids' descendants get ownership of that.
Well, that's the problem. Christopher Tolkien sold the TV rights to Amazon for $250 million. And now you got another kid, the grandchild, who's in charge, who doesn't give a shit about his grandfather's legacy or his father's legacy. So he's just going to milk this shit for all it's worth. And now he's going to allow Warner Brothers to do a Lord of the Rings cinematic universe of movies. And nobody wants that shit. I mean, nobody fucking cares.
No one cares. No,
I don't want that
shit.
shit.
It would be interesting. It would be interesting.
There's not going to be any passion put into it. Like Peter Jackson, what he did with the original trilogy, he's a huge Tolkien nerd and put all of his passion into those movies.
Yes. But it'll be interesting because they get to mock, ridicule, and laugh at their failures.
It's going to be so stupid. Although the Rohan animated movie looks good. I'm looking forward to that. That looks promising.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Anyways, I know there was another topic we wanted to discuss. I forgot it. And I had already given the pen back, so I couldn't write it down. But we'll have to discuss that another time. Maybe next week?
Yeah, next week.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen. So again, I am Steve from Steve's Thoughts and Nerd Talk.
Brian.
This is Brian from
Brian J's Nerd Talk.
And we're here to bring you all things good, wonderful, loving, amazing,
And bad.
sad, and
Bad
horrible.
news and good news, and all things nerd.
All things nerd and nerd talk. Culture and pop-wise nerd.
All right.
So again, leave a like and a subscribe.
Have a good night.
If you like what we put on, like
Live
and
long and
subscribe.
prosper.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
May the force be with you. Oh.
Live long and prosper.